Greetings, members one and all of the Salivation Nation. Oh boy, we celebrated too soon. The jobs report was wrong. Let's explore. The reason why this is important, because that's the major reason why gold and silver got smacked down a bit on Friday when those numbers came out. In fact, let's revisit this here. Gold was down over 1.5 percentage points, $28.90 below the $1,700 level. And silver was almost 2% decrease to $17.50. And platinum was down almost by the same margin, to $820 an ounce, down $15. Now, these numbers that came out, essentially, how they were reported on almost every news agency, including those that are unfavorable to Donald Trump, is that they were unexpected, because everybody was thinking that the unemployment numbers would climb in May instead of go down by any measure. But instead, they went down to 13 some odd percentage points, and which is still a very high unemployment rate. But as I posted that video, I was a little bit frustrated over some of the comments saying fake unemployment numbers, and this isn't real, and what about everybody that's unemployed and all that. And I responded to those comments on my live stream, and we have to believe someone somewhere. There's numbers that we have to agree, and typically what happens is people tend to gravitate towards the information sources that they agree with. Well, I don't know of any agency that we can trust any more than the Bureau of Labor Statistics, from both sides, all sides, depending on which ideology you follow. But regardless, so it was a little bit frustrating with some of those comments, but in reality, they were right, but so was the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. And I'll cover this here in this particular article here that I saw from the Stamford Advocate. The May jobs report had misclassification error that made the unemployment rate look lower than it is. Here is what happened. Now, I'm going to read this article, and I want you to understand something, that though the information were kind of misconstrued, it's still better than what people had feared. Most every economist had feared. So it's still good news, just not as good news as it was recently reported here. So when the U.S. government's official jobs report for May came out on Friday, which was yesterday, it included a note at the bottom saying that there had been a major error and the unemployment rate likely should be higher than the widely reported 13.3% rate. The special note said that if this misclassification error had not occurred, the overall unemployment rate would have been about 3 percentage points higher than reported, meaning that the unemployment rate would be about 16.3% for May. The Bureau of Labor Statistics, the agency that puts out the monthly jobs report, said it was working to fix the problem. BLS and the Census Bureau are investigating why this misclassification error continues to occur and are taking additional steps to address the issue, said a note at the bottom of the Bureau of Labor Statistics report. We're going to take a look at that report right now, because I'm going to talk about something else that I predicted in my live stream last night that appears to be starting to well up already. And it's amazing, because I don't get predictions right too often, but this appears to be something that is quite telling. So here is the news release for the Bureau of Labor Statistics report. And again, this ties into precious metals, because the precious metals prices reacted negatively to this news. In other words, they went down. And we are going to cover in tomorrow night's live stream starting at 6 p.m. Eastern time when the Asian markets open. And it'll be interesting to see how Asia reacts to any news about this. My guess is this probably won't be big news until we get into the news cycle of next week, but I predict that it will. So here we see this is their actual news release that agencies get for the employment situation here. Non-farm roll payroll employment rose by 2.5 million in May. The unemployment rate declined to 13.3%. And so we can see there all information that, is right out front. But then you have to scroll all the way down here to the bottom to see this information here about how this has occurred. I think this is unusual because I believe what they're doing is it's because of how the COVID-19 impact on the establishment and household survey data. So here we go. Very page down here, it says that data collection for both surveys was affected by the coronavirus pandemic. The establishment survey, approximately 1/5 of the data is collected at 4 regional data collection centers. Although these centers were closed, about 3/4 of the interviewers at these centers worked remotely to collect data by telephone. Additionally, BLS encouraged businesses to report electronically. The collection rate for the establishment survey in May was 69%, slightly lower than collection rates prior to the pandemic. Household surveys generally conducted through in-person or telephone interviews, but personal interviews were not conducted for the safety of interviewers and respondents. And then it goes here to look and see about the estimate methods and the like for this. And then here in the household survey, individuals are classified as employed, unemployed, or not in the labor force based off their answers to a series of questions about the activities during the survey reference week, May 10th through May 16th. And so, yes, let's see here. And so here's the survey and all of the data that are assigned to it here. A lot of information here that's explained in all this. There's a lot to go through. Let's see what's here at the very bottom and see where this is, because to me that footnote should be pretty prominent. In fact, I guess because I didn't have time to really research to really get an accurate number there, I would have made that a huge asterisk before reporting this. But let's see here. Let's get down here to the very bottom. Let's see. And I know I'm not seeing anything here. I guess we could search for error. All right, there we go. Here it is. Okay. It is apparent that not all such workers were classified. And BLS and the Census Bureau are investigating why this misclassification error continues to occur, and are taking additional steps to address this issue. And so yes, so that is the disclaimer here for this. But going back to the article, this is something I predicted in my live stream, that some took this as a sign that President Donald Trump or one of his staffers might have tinkered with the data to make it look better, especially since most forecasters predicted the unemployment rate would be close to 20% in May, up from 14.7% in April. But economists and former BLS leaders from across the political strongly dismissed the idea. Say across the political spectrum is probably what they meant to say there. They dismissed the idea that Trump or anyone else tampered with the data. Economists say the BLS was trying to be as transparent as possible about how hard it is to collect real-time data during the pandemic. The BLS admitted that some people who should have been classified as temporarily unemployed during the shutdown were instead misclassified as employed but absent from work for other reasons. And to me, that is, I fault the BLS for not asterixing this, at least to say, look down for clarification or the error in this report. In other words, it should have been mentioned somehow to reference that section strongly here, down in this section here where the major news is. But on the other hand, I believe it is the reporters and the media should do their due diligence to look at this information more closely, because I guess the news cycle is you're in such a rush to get it out that even if it doesn't favor your worldview or your political view, well, you're just going to put out the summary. And so there's a lot of blame to go around here, I believe, but the Bureau of Labor Statistics is obviously a government organization. It's supposed to be nonpartisan, and there's a lot of information, but they're not going to get everything right. But at the same time, it's the best we've got. Who else is going to give us employment data in such a regard as this other than the Census Bureau? The Census Bureau does it in relation to the community surveys that are done annually and the decennial. But what other agency is going to collect data in this regard that you can trust, that doesn't have an agenda and the like? You know, there's 6 levels of employment measures that the Bureau of Labor and Statistics do, and we have to take that into account. But if we do take this for what it is, 16% is still a lot better than what the economists had predicted at 20%. So this is good news. It's just not great news. And so Trump took a victory lap, and how this is related to gold and silver prices is quite strong, because they reacted. The stock market reacted. What's going to happen Monday and Tuesday is, I believe, we'll see a retreat from these lows that we're seeing. So those of you who bought or are thinking about buying this weekend, this could provide an opportunity before prices go back up again, possibly, or maybe not. Depends on how media. Now, my guess is that major media will probably, take a hold of this story and run with it, because so much of the media is against the president and the agenda and this idea of the V curve. Now, we could still be seeing a V curve. It could still be right, because there is evidence, as was stated, that of some job gains here. And as everything starts to open up, many states are starting to move into the phase 2 opening here, that we are going to see, hopefully, some increased economic activity, long awaited, especially with now that is official now that the coronavirus is, the contagion factor is reducing, and we are beyond the flattened curve. We're now starting to see going into a downward trend with the coronavirus. Is becoming weaker, and that's good news for everybody. We want good economic news, but by and large, the overall end and lesson here is that the whole reason why we accumulate gold and silver is to protect us from economic situations that we are going through for the long run. You know, this recession that we're seeing may be a complex one. You know, we may see a surge in economic growth in some sectors of the economy, but make no mistake, there are businesses that are going to be closed down forever. Unemployment is not going to go back down to the 3-point-some-odd% where it was before for quite some time. And every job lost, we mourn for those. And obviously, even more importantly, the health of people that have been affected by this pandemic, and whatever else that derives from this situation. But this is one of the reasons why we accumulate in these times gold and silver, to protect us. And keep in mind, we have a 25 trillion plus debt. We have paid mightily for this shutdown, and it's going to hurt us in the long run. It's going to hurt the dollar in some way, shape, or form. Something's got to give somewhere at some time. When that will be, who knows? Which is why we accumulate gold and silver with and do so in a responsible way fiscally. So there you have it, a clarification. So some of you who questioned the BLS's numbers, well, I guess you found some BS in the BLS, and I stand somewhat corrected, for sure. Although I'm one of those that wants to try to be optimistic. I don't want to see people hurt. I don't want to see people suffer in any way, shape, or form. I'd much rather be wrong about gold and silver in the long run and about the dollar and the economy do well. I've always wanted the economy to do well, even during a presidential administration for which I disagreed with some of their policies. I don't ever want to see the economy take a downturn. Never celebrate that. So there you have it. So post your thoughts below. I felt it was my duty, since I had reported so emphatically about these job numbers, to post this video as a correction to my celebratory stance in the previous video. I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for watching, and encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.